plan that conference call, follow up on that conference call. This becomes an additional large piece of work for a person. It's hard to get other people to do work that the working group might come up with, etc. So I think that the leaders of working groups require a lot of support, and we're not giving them that support now. What recommendations could you give to the rest of PSI about ways we could support working group leaders like yourself?
I've noticed, I know that, for example, I know there's an MSM working group at PSI. And it sort of was going on around in our office, who's going to be the contact person? Who's it going to be? You know, who should it be? You know, when there was, we didn't know who would be the ideal person to work in the MSM working group. And then in the end, I think that we had someone, and then they left the office, and then sort of that challenge of sort of keeping the group together. I haven't had that situation yet, because I haven't assigned, I don't think that we've had a big project on something that we've had to work on yet. Because all of these regional strategies, regional sales, regional PR, they were already developed. And then, so I've found that people have been really interested in actively participating. And then when I ask a platform, could you highlight your situation? Just run down these bullets. Tell me, you know, what your situation was a few years ago. What's it like now? How you bridge that gap. So it doesn't feel like a chore to them. So they're so excited, you know, oh, hey, I get the microphone. I get to tell everyone why, you know, that's interesting. You think I'm great at this. I want to talk about it. So it's been different. I feel like people have been really into participating, interested. I get, you know, feedback immediately. I think another thing that helps is just coming up with those call notes in such a sort of short, simple format. It takes some of my time, but not enough for me to feel like it's a burden or an extra task. We only meet once a month, and sometimes we'll skip a month. So it also feels like it hasn't been that hard for me. I don't know. I'd have to think about what kind of tools I would need, for example, to lead this group better. I think I would really like to try SocialCast, because if we wanted to work on something together, and just like that mission statement, something like that, and you could get feedback that quickly, I think that's something that would be interesting to try out. I don't know, maybe Lena, if you could think of like what would help someone who leads the the admin finance group.
That's exactly the same kind of challenge we faced, especially when you're dealing with a grueling task like creating a manual from the ground up. It's a lot of work to ask from people. To the participants, it's helped that we put them in their performance plan, so they have their own incentive. And for the leaders, it's just it's another part of your performance.
Is it in your MBOs that you will lead this group?
Yes. It's in my MBOs.
Is the group accountable for any outputs? So will your supervisor expect that the group produce a certain thing by a certain time?
Not yet. At least with the PR working group, our first few months, our first 6 months have been more about let's start the conversation, which we weren't having before. We haven't had any outputs or products or anything that have had to come out of these working groups yet, aside from just beginning that communication, that horizontal communication. I haven't tried yet, but I know that the admin finance has had to come up with an updated manual, for example. That's their sort of output for their working group. I don't know if that's also an MBO, like coming up with that manual.
Yeah, it's in everybody's performance objectives, so they need to prioritize accordingly.
So it is in their MBOs that they're on this group. Do you have a budget? As a working group, do you have a budget?
To spend, no. That's why Illuminate is free. Yeah, Illuminate is free, and it works really well with low internet connections, where it might be difficult to hear people. So it's been really useful, and we just count on people's time and prioritization abilities to be able to get this done. But it's definitely a challenge, and we need to keep reminding people how this is part of their performance appraisal.
So for each of the working groups, there is a predetermined leader of that group that's in charge of setting the times and follow-up and the actions.
Well, as a regional team, something that Barry asked us to do was to sort of, I lead an area that's called strategic information. It's sort of a mix of what NBD does and what corporate communications does. So I was asked as the person in charge on the regional team for PR to lead that group. And then and the first discussion that we had was, I asked them, okay, I personally believe that I would be a better facilitator than a leader of this group. I don't want to sort of say, this is how you have to do it. I would like this to be more of a discussion-based group. And what do you all think of this? And then the feedback that I got from the platforms was, no, we want you to sort of lead this more than just facilitate. We need guidance. We need you to be more, this is what regional guidelines we have for PR. So I think each group was sort of allowed to decide how each group